And in fact, right now, we're delivering to each of our business units a quarterly report on what their impact on the environment is. So if you're running our movie studio, every quarter, starting in 2010, you get a report on how much waste you're creating, how much energy you're using, how much water you're using, et cetera. That's a big step. Anyway, we had to create some form of monitoring as we go forward. We also had to make sure that we were implementing. We also did things like every capital request that now is created at the company has with it basically an environmental impact component. If you come to us and you want to buy, spend capital on significant projects, you want to build a building, a theme park attraction, you want to buy a new fleet of buses or cars or whatever, there is in that capital request a page that basically forces you to detail or be aware of what the impact on the environment of that project is going to have. That's pretty significant. The last thing that we did, which is really, I think, interesting, is we created a tax where we basically projected over the next 5 years what each business's impact would be. And we're actually taxing them. We're actually charging them money
if they go over
for that impact. And then we use that money to create a fund that's largely going to conservation projects, mostly forestry around the world. So we were actually buying our carbon offsets through that. But the business units are actually incentivized because of that internal tax to reduce. And I think that's pretty unique.
How much does all of this reflect a personal commitment on your part to the environment?
Well, am I the most staunch environmentalist that exists in the world? No, I'm not. I'm working hard with my wife and my family to behave in a more responsible way, and I'm proud of some of the steps that we've taken. But I fundamentally believe that for our children and our children's children and future generations, that the impact that we have on this world is something we need to be very mindful of, and we do not have an endless supply of resources, whether it's water or air or fossil fuel, and we have got to be mindful of that, particularly as you have a population base of the world that is growing in rather dramatic fashion. I think it's really important, and so I feel it's essential for me as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company to see that our company behaves responsibly, because I think in the end it does create shareholder value. And I think it's very, very much part of, in effect, the brand, or what people expect of the brand. And I also think, again, I don't think I can push the company to do that without behaving better personally as well. Set an example.
You've made some movies that highlight some of these environmental issues. Earth, it was a couple of years ago, I guess?
Last year.
Last year. You have a new one coming out.
Oceans.
Oceans. When is that coming out?
Earth Day.
Earth Day. Are those successful movies? They make money for you?
We've only released one, and we intend to release one every Earth Day certainly for the next 6 or 7 years. They're modestly successful from a direct bottom line perspective, but I think they're enormously successful in terms of building respect for the company and inspiring people to be more respectful of their environment.
Do you see a lot of environmental themes popping up in movies, movie scripts? Do you find that more common these days?
You're definitely seeing more. I don't know just how much more, but it's becoming more common in movies and television shows, yes.
Not to put you on the spot, but have you seen Avatar?
Yes, I have.
What was your response?
In
Recognizing
what
that
sense?
you have News Corps employees.
I've talked to Rupert Murdoch about this, congratulating him for having the guts to support a film with that kind of budget. I don't know where I would have been when it was going above X level and Y level and Z level. But I actually thought it was. I think Jim Cameron did a brilliant job with that film, and I give him tremendous credit for having the vision and for News Corp for having the guts. And I think the box office speaks volumes.
You said the guts for spending that kind of money, but did you see an ideological message in the movie?
Yeah, I think there was ideological. I think there was a message in the movie. There are messages in a lot of movies. Yeah, I didn't go to see it for that.
Yeah.
Nor did I leave overly inspired to do more necessarily. Yeah. But yeah, I think there was a message. Sure.
Yeah. That's enough on Avatar. You did a good job. Thank you very much.
I wish it were ours.
When we started doing this conference, this is the third conference we've had. When we started doing it 2 years ago, it was driven in part because there was an increasing expectation on the part of business people that we were going to have some sort of carbon control regime, a cap and trade regime in the US and around the globe. It was right at the time US CAP was formed. Jeff Immelt sat on the stage the opening night of the first conference talking about just that issue. Jim Rogers was there, said if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, a feeling like this was happening and it was time to get on board. Today, as we sit here, it's a very different picture. It's not at all clear that Congress is going to be able to get its act together and make something happen. Copenhagen was a mess. Does that change your view of these issues in any way?
Not at all. No, we did this because we felt, as I described earlier, it was the right thing for the company in terms of creating value. And at no time do I recall ever being advised that we should be kind of get with the program because there was looming legislation or law, whether it was global in nature or national in nature. Not at all. And as I said earlier, I think I fundamentally believe that this is good for the company from a brand perspective, from a reputation perspective. And the other thing that is very apparent to us in almost everything we do is people, when you have a brand that is global as Disney and as valuable as Disney, people have a set of expectations of Disney. And when that name is on anything, they have characteristics in mind. And one of those characteristics is what company does it come from? How does that company behave? Who are the people behind that company? So we live with that dynamic every day. And as I've said a few times tonight, how we behave in terms of environmental responsibility is an important component of all of that, and of either meeting the expectations of our customers and our shareholders and our employees, or exceeding them, which is obviously something I'd love to do.
I asked you a minute ago, how much can 14-year-old girls do to deal with our environmental problems? But I guess it's also fair to ask, how much can businesses do? You have a lot of CEOs, other business leaders in this room. In a world where our governments seem to be having a difficult time coming together and creating some sort of regulatory certainty, is it possible for business leaders to fill the gap, to take the lead, to make things happen that need to happen?
Look, is it possible for businesses together to do everything that's necessary? I don't know. I can't really answer that question, whether some kind of framework is necessary or not. My instinct is that it might be, because you're just never going to get a perfect world where enough businesses get behind it. I do know, though, that businesses, when they change their behavior, can make a difference. When you have, the footprint that we have, when you run the number of vehicles that we've got, as a for instance, thousands of vehicles at our theme parks around the world. When you have 100 million, we have 100 million people visit our theme parks on an annual basis. What they consume, how we transport them, how cool the air conditioning is in their room when their lights get turned off. We have thousands of hotel rooms. There's a lot you can do. And what's interesting about it is we're finding more and more that our guests want to know about these things. And so we used to be really relatively kind of tight-lipped about our so-called practices. People just weren't interested. They want to come and have fun. They're actually interested in not only while they're having fun and kind of how they're having fun. They get on one of our steam trains, those classic steam trains that Walt put in Disneyland in the 50s. They're now run on vegetable oil. And we tell them that, and they love to hear that. It makes them feel better. One, they feel better about riding it, interestingly enough. Two, they feel better about Disney, that Disney would go that far. By the way, the trains smell like French fries, but